It was now the evening of the fourth day of our trip around Morocco, so we were getting used to the cuisine, the noise and the hospitality. But next morning we had to get up before dawn so that we could take a camel ride to see the sunrise across the great sand sea of Merzouga. Unfortunately, the camels could only take us so far and not up the last steep dune consisting of soft sand, so it was a hard struggle up the final section. The camels had been waiting patiently for us below, so all too soon we were on our way back for breakfast. We had stayed overnight in this fine hotel, but our camels and their nomadic Berber owners had accommodation that was very different. After breakfast, we had to hit the road again. Now at Erfoud, we changed back from our four-wheel drive, now that we had left the sandy desert roads. We were now preparing to visit another important site, the dramatic Todra Gorge. Here the cliffs rise 300 metres, and we were to take the Loop Trail, a 4-hour round trip to the top.
Tell us what that was like.
I made it.
Oh,
Good God, look at him.
you were marvellous. Tell us how far you've come.
Oh, hecky flip, I don't know. It's taken us hours.
Hours and hours.
2,000 metres, she said.
That evening we couldn't resist tracking down the noisy local nightlife. In the morning we set off for Ouarzazate. Passing through the busy market, we arrived at the Kasbah Dil, the home of Mohammed, a friend of our guide Karen. After our lovely lunch, Mohammed told us about the restoration work he is undertaking on his ancestral home.
Now you are inside of the Kasbah Dil. I am the last descendant of the family owner of this building. A lot of things in this Kasbah, I try to keep it because it is a part of our story, of our culture, of you see, this architecture is original architecture. You are inside of traditional castle, traditional house, traditional castle. Normally you are inside of castle. Ksar.
Avec l'ordinateur, il y a une petite ligne. La ligne au milieu, il y a une ligne.
Our eventual stop for the night was at a more modern building, We enjoyed breakfast on the roof terrace and contemplated a swim. Meanwhile, the children below were being lined up for school, or maybe a long walk. Hopefully it wasn't to Timbuktu, which was apparently 52 days away, with a rather sketchy map. But we were preparing for our own walk, eventually arriving at a communal pottery, where Karen explained the stages of work involved in creating the pottery.
Dry, just in the sun for a week, and then they actually put them in the kiln.
صحيح. إذن سيدة إلهام بالنسبة للأهالي التي
In the afternoon, we had free time either to rest or to explore. I chose to try and meet local people. First was Kalil, who enjoyed chatting and proposing over a glass of mint tea. Then I was thrilled to be invited into the home of Mina to meet her mother and her young family. This visit actually became the start of a lifelong friendship. The following morning was spent absorbing the sights, sounds and smells of the market. As we left, we found time for a group photo, which was overseen by a small local, before we travelled further in this vast landscape. Our next stop was at Ait Benhaddou, where we enjoyed staying in a luxurious hotel. Afterwards, Karen explained that this was one of the best preserved fortified Kasbahs in the country, dating from the 15th century. It may look familiar, as it has frequently been chosen as a location for well-known Hollywood films. However, we are now keeping people waiting, as we are about to set off on our 3-day hike through the lower flanks of the Atlas Mountains. We are lucky in only having to carry a small backpack each, as we are accompanied by a group of muleteers and their mules, who will carry our baggage and look after us. In no time, we arrive at our first stop. Here we find that the muleteers have already prepared an enjoyable lunch for us. After we finish, we find that they are making the most of their free time with energetic but simple pleasures.
Right 'em!
Eventually, we arrive at our first village homestay night stop. We enjoy the traditional refreshing mint tea before having a little time to make friends and explore our surroundings. After our evening meal, it is time to settle down in our communal bedroom.
Only my little sleeves. So I've really got stiff neck now.
Next morning, we find that the children do have a school to attend. Keeping goats seems to be the major local occupation, but it looks quite hard work. We are allowed a little more time to make friends, but then we set off again.
We can do that too. You ready?
Looking back, we can see how well the village blends into the landscape. And looking down, we discover how the homes are designed to fit the local climate and lifestyle. We find that there are workers in the green agricultural oases also.
A street light actually last night outside ours, but I don't think it was.
Now we have reached our next village and homestay. A rest for us all and another chance to explore.
It was me.
Here we have the luxury of benches and tables for our meal. As we enjoy our after-dinner tea, we hear melodic noises from nearby. And we find our muleteers are again using the items at hand to create a musical evening for themselves. Eventually, they kindly let us join in. Next morning, we pack up our sleeping bags and mats. Then we set off again.
Either really did strengthen and hang in there, or they look at some of Keith's classmates and the girl.
It is difficult to imagine how the goats survive in this landscape, but it's good to see that at least there is occasional water available.
Nice beach.
Come noon, however, we have reached our lunch stop and it's time to say goodbye to our lovely escorts.
Do you want one? Do you want to go in? Yeah. Well, I'll take out the old trade routes.
We are at Telouet, which used to be an important trading post due to a nearby salt mine.
There were 3 passes over the High Atlas. There was this one, there is the Tizgui test, and there was another one that's further west. And
Now it appears to be derelict, but the inside still retains evidence of its past splendour.
Yes.
We leave by driving along one of the mountain passes in the High Atlas to our next destination, Marrakech. And here we enter quite a different world and have our evening meal in the frantic and busy Jama el Fna, the famous market square of Marrakech. Next day takes us into the equally famous and busy Medina. We manage not to get lost, but to stay close to our guide until we are encouraged into a dispensary of herbs and medicine.
80 plants different to cure and to relieve many sicknesses. We have some spices for cooking, natural perfumes, aphrodisiac products for men and women, some cosmetic products as beauty creams or the cover the eyes to do eyeliner or mascara. So many other.
The final massage proved very welcome before we ventured into the square again and sampled its attractions.
Hey, madam. Hey.
By choosing a gentle carriage ride next, we saw another side of the city and its people. Next day we had an optional trip to the coastal town of Essaouira. On the way we passed the iconic tree-climbing goats. Fishing is the main livelihood here, so of course we enjoyed a fish-themed lunch. Afterwards, we were able to admire some of the other talented craft workers and their creations. Then we discovered that in another area, Essaouira is a seaside town of leisure as well. Finally, we were back to Marrakech for our last group meal, when we gave thanks to Karen, our excellent guide.